Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark movie fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today we're discussing The Chicken Sisters, episode 4. It's the drop, y'all, streaming exclusively on Hallmark Plus. If you want to hang out with us when the podcast is over, follow us on Instagram. We have 2 accounts, Girls Gone Hallmark and Megan and Wendy, depending on if you're in a Hallmarky kind of mood or not.
If you're really in a Hallmark mood, come join our Facebook group. It's called Girls Gone Hallmark. There's so many people over there. I imagine Megan has dropped a number she would like to reach by the end of the year in that group. So tell a friend if you want to come over and talk about Hallmark movies.
Indeed. You can always email us, girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com. You can email your thoughts on the podcast, on the movies, on the shows. Just say hi, and I would like to share another email. Also from listener Paula, who was on an emailing streak this weekend, in regards to last week's Chicken Sisters episode 3 review. She says, once again, I enjoyed your recap, but I have to say I have a very different take on what is going on here. In short, I think you're being too hard on Amanda and May and too easy on Gus. I also think a lot of changes are going to happen to Sabrina. You don't just introduce a guy named Gruster.
Oh, I hope so.
That's my favorite line I read this weekend. You don't just introduce a guy named Gruster.
That is a really unusual name.
And it was very Gruster light in this episode, but he did return.
He did return.
He may be the most likable person on this show.
Right. Back to being hard on Gus. Gus was a terrible parent. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But Megan needs some behind the scenes stuff of what happened in the book. And so I have a little tender heart for Gus.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this comment, and I don't think Paula is wrong that Gus was the mom of children, but Gus is also dealing with a mental illness, and Gus didn't have anybody. I think if you're in a place where you need to make some changes for the protection of your children, it's not always easy to be the sole person responsible for knowing how to access the resources you need. I mean, my personal opinion is that Gus is currently in therapy and that her faux, she pulled Jen out of bed. I need to see you. That's her therapist. That's 100% what I believe. Prove me wrong. That's not in the book, so that's not a spoiler. But I don't know how, as a single mom with very limited resources and very limited finances, and from a place where clearly they're not talking about the power of mental health all the time, in a time where we weren't talking about the importance of mental health, how you pull yourself out of that situation. I am giving Gus maybe more grace than she deserves. I think they were all dealt a shit hand, and we do find out some more about these ladies in this episode.
Hey, who is Amanda and May's father?
They don't believe they've discussed it at all.
Yeah, right? Is it discussed in the book?
Yes, but it's not the person's very peripherally involved. I'm not sure if we're going to get a similar tie-in. I don't know how they're going to deal with that, if at all.
I was just had that thought. Like, they never talk about who their dad was.
Correct.
Thanks for the email, Paula.
It's synopsis time, y'all.
If I could just first gripe about
Hallmark please
Plus for a second.
Yes.
Ever since Thursday when these episodes drop, this is the one show I could not get to stream on my TV for some reason on Hallmark Plus. Every single time, it would say, "We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please dismiss." And I cleared out the cache. I logged in and logged out. I did all the things. I could only get it to stream on my phone. That's it.
I had the same experience, and I did all of this. I made sure the app was updated. I restarted my Apple TV. Yep. I did everything on my end that I could think of to make it work. And other Hallmark Plus properties were streaming. I did watch all the other things I needed to watch. So yeah, that was frustrating. I also watched on my phone, which is not the watching experience I'd prefer for something that I need to review. Get it together, y'all.
I don't understand how I can watch Love on the Danube, and that's working perfectly fine, but Chicken Sisters isn't. I don't get it. Like, what is happening over there? Also, I would like to note that their press website was down since last night. And as a
Since last
Hallmark
night.
content creator trying to get the most accurate information and can't get access to it because it's not updated anywhere else. It just was real frustrating. I was finally able to get access to it this afternoon, but really
Yeah, it is finally
annoying.
back up now.
I do have a note though, because remember last week how we were like, oh, they're not up in the Hallmark press release for Chicken Sisters. It has the wrong writer. Well, episode 3 last week now reflects the writer that we said.
Nice.
Are they listening? Are they listening to our podcast?
Hi, Hallmark.
So here is the synopsis. That's where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Synopsis for episode 4. The drop, the biggest event of the year in Merrimack, brings the Mimis and the Frannies factions under one roof and face to face. But Gus has other plans.
In the world of news and notes, Layla Cohen is credited with writing this episode. She is an Emmy-nominated television and feature writer. Her previous projects include The Perfect Couple, whoop whoop, and Bridgerton, both for Netflix, The First Wives Club, and The Santa Clarita Diet, also on Netflix.
Paul Fox directed this episode. Fox has 53 previous directing credits, including Workin' Moms, Schitt's Creek, and Fraggle Rock, Back to the Rock, airing on Apple Plus. Did you watch that as a child?
I did, the original Fraggle Rock, indeed.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Me too.
We do have 2 new characters to introduce, both seen in the form of a flashback. We have Liam Boland, who plays young Frank Sr. Liam has only a handful of acting credits, but has previously appeared on Hallmark in the 2023 movie Sweeter Than Chocolate. Miles Marthaler plays young Frank Jr. He has 3 acting credits, including the 2023 film Round and Round. But perhaps the most exciting is his upcoming role as Thomas in 3 Wiser Men and a Boy. This episode, in my opinion, we don't do first impressions on these, but to me, I'm like, oh, we're back, y'all. This was the redemption episode for me. How do you feel?
It was better than last week's and the week before. I think that might have to do with because it has a different writer, perhaps. Also, yes, a little redemption. A little redemption.
In my notes, I wrote alternate title, the one where we learn stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I mean, the revelations came fast and furious. Because so much was happening at once, my first note is we learned that Frank Sr. may have sucked.
I have been saying that for weeks.
Did you feel justified?
I did. I was like, dude, your wife is clearly dealing with like some depression.
Get off the couch and make dinner.
Do you know how like red my face got in that moment? I was so pissed. He sucked. He sucked. And Nancy just kind of like learned to take it. I hated it, all that.
And we also learn that he's a big old cheater and he had an affair with one Gus.
So did he technically have an affair or did he have cold feet before getting...
Well, whether maybe it was not a drawn out affair, but he slept with Gus.
Yes. I had a feeling that was the history between Nancy and Gus because like other than being a Mimi's girl and a Franny's girl, like really what is their beef between the two of them?
That's juicier than it is in the book, BTW.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Juicier than the chicken they serve at Mimi's?
Woo!
I can't help it. I can't help the puns. Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's really interesting that you say that. What else? What else did you...
Okay, well, because of this, Nancy, at the end of the last episode, right, she sees Amanda and Sergio, and at the beginning of this episode, she wants to, like, sweep it all under the rug, and she's like, let's go get your hair done. And when she finally has a discussion with Amanda about it, she's like, sometimes you choose the wrong path and you have the opportunity to choose the right one. And I just was so disappointed in Nancy in this moment because as much as I feel for her, she'd poured all of her hopes and dreams into Amanda. Like, her husband sucks. Her son, real sweet as a kid, grows up, he also sucks. She finally gets this daughter who's lovely. She knows how to get with the program. She is everything Nancy ever wanted in the perfect little Franny's girl daughter. And now she's been disappointed by her, which I understand, but at the same time, Nancy, please grow a pair. Stand up to these men. Your husband sucked. Your son sucks. Yes, your daughter-in-law, who for the most part has been nothing but lovely and supportive to you, made a bad choice. But please see it from her perspective. Not forgive it. Not like, it's cool that you had an affair, but saying like, you need to just go home to your husband. Ugh.
Yeah, I hated that. I hate all that.
We learned that Sergio is divorced. That was news to me.
I actually don't care. Like, I don't even know why it's relevant.
Yeah, I think the only reason it's relevant is it gives the story a place. Like, why are Kenneth and Patrick all of a sudden taking Sergio out on the town to meet chicks? Like,
Yeah.
oh, your divorce is final. So
Chicks. Did you do that on purpose?
no, I did not. No, as we will discuss in an upcoming episode later this week, I have no talent for intentional puns. He, just as a quick throwaway, clearly still into Amanda. He's not looking for a hookup. Amanda sends him like the world's least convincing voice message ending things.
Yeah.
The thing that came out of this scene that is noteworthy is the dude can sing. Worth noting that Hector Rivera, the actor, he's an accomplished singer as well. His first role on Broadway was as Emilio Estefan in the Broadway musical On Your Feet, about the life of Gloria and Emilio Estefan.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
he has quite a few live singing performances under his belt. So I actually thought his karaoke performance was quite fun.
I'm not really buying the relationship between him and Amanda. Like I said last week, I think Amanda was reacting with Sergio because she was pissed off at Frank Jr. And then in this episode, she does tell Nancy, like, oh, Sergio makes me feel seen. They have not had that many interactions to feel that way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I can understand why Amanda would like hop on the counter in that moment with Sergio because she's like, he's here, he's in front of me, he's acting like I matter. I can understand that, not as like the big great love of her life, but just as like a I got to get this out of my system moment. What I don't fully understand is why Sergio likes Amanda, because we've seen, I'm not sure they've had an interaction where she wasn't being kind of shitty to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it unless it's just strictly sex, but or like
Yeah, it doesn't
sexual
feel like
chemistry
that's
or
what it's
whatever.
supposed to be here.
No, they're trying to make us believe that they're falling in love with each other, but I don't buy it.
We do learn more about May and Sabrina's history and perhaps why Sabrina might be motivated to tell a particular story on Kitchen Clash.
Like that we finally got like a backstory on this, right? I always like Sabrina, so I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Sabrina doesn't operate to me in a way of like vengefulness. Do you think she's really trying to get back at May for stealing the cubicle job?
I don't know if she was trying to get back at her or if when Amanda presented her with like, hey, May worked at Donkey's, Sabrina was like, well, this is great because she kind of screwed me a long time ago and I'm going to use this opportunity. I don't know that she came into it like I'm going to get back at her, but it certainly wasn't going to shy away from an opportunity to make May look badly.
I think Sabrina's deeper than that. I think Sabrina wants to produce a great show, but I don't think she's going to roast May because of that.
I liked in the book, Sabrina's very one-dimensional, and this is giving us a much fuller picture of her as a person, as a mom. The decisions that May made had a big impact on Sabrina's life and her losing primary custody of her daughter because she couldn't live near where her daughter was going to school. And so I like that contrast from the book, that she's a fuller character. In the book, she's very just this gotcha type programming producer, and she wants
Yeah.
to produce this show that is full of like explosive revelations. And I think you're right. Sabrina wants to produce a good show, but she's not. That first episode, we see her kind of like sneakily recording moments that people may or may not realize they're on camera. The whole series is kind of like that, where she's trying to catch people in the act in the book. I think they're trying to make her more than that.
Yeah, well, to your credit, we do see her like filming on her phone during the party.
Yeah,
And
but
all
that's
these
good
big,
content.
Like, no, it is like, and I thought it was pretty funny. She's like, "Oh, should have brought the cameras."
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. What else you got?
I am starting to have I have complicated feelings about May as a character.
Me too.
We learn a lot about their childhood. Amanda learns kind of the truth about her childhood finances, and I don't know where, like, Amanda, you're an adult now. Did it never occur to you, like, whatever their hide and seek in the dark was called,
Yeah. Because the electricity was out.
and they made mac and cheese with water because they couldn't afford milk? Like, at no point, you have a teenage daughter. You're like, you're well past, you never looked back and thought, like, oh, we didn't have the money. And whether or not she knew that May was the one who was taking her Mimi's tips down to the electric company to turn the electricity back on, she just seemed shocked by it. Like, oh. So in my mind, I'm like, May was doing what she could to give Amanda the childhood that she deserved, even though May couldn't have that. And we also learned that she's been sending her mom $1,000 a month from a Fan Incident LLC fake settlement. And then she finally, the scene at the drop, which is one of my favorite scenes, where she gives the town something else to talk about because everyone loves a common enemy, to get them off of her case. Turn your ire towards me rather than my mother and sister who maybe haven't earned it.
Yeah. Well, it was funny what I concluded at the end of this episode, and we didn't talk about it yet, but I was wondering, are May and Gus more alike than they are different? Because we have May who like pops off at the drop and is like, stop talking about my family, whatever, and, like, spills all this tea, right? And then later we see Gus tell Patrick, Kenneth's husband, to like basically stop talking shit about May. So to me, it kind of feels like these two, even though mother and daughter were kind of like in the trenches together, growing up together, you know?
Yes.
And they have each other's back.
Yeah.
Whereas like maybe Amanda was like little sister who wasn't fully aware of all the like ugly stuff happening.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I think in the quest to find likable characters, we may get there with May sooner than we get there with some other people.
I do. May's definitely growing on me.
We learn that Shauna is to Marinac as Kirk is to Stars Hollow.
Yes.
She's a character with a million jobs. I loved her LuLaRoe like side hustle,
Yeah.
and that this small town is still all in on her leggings.
Don't you? I mean, that was hot when that was going
Yes.
off. Like you and I were super into that. Like we weren't like selling them, but we were like trying to get like the newest ones that were out.
I was watching Facebook Lives to buy those bike leggings, man.
Our Facebook Live parties that we would go to.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. Really funny, actually. Shauna really enjoyed her in this episode quite a bit.
I also have, we learned Frank Jr. is the kind of person who could easily find himself in a cult.
Right. Like how this whole thing with Mr. Chicken was weird to me.
Yeah, to me, Mr. Chicken, Christian is like this toxic masculinity podcasting bro who's got this app that I'm sure is some multi-level marketing, give me your money and I will teach you how to be a real man situation.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we don't know all the details. He's like, please come be an alpha tester for my app. And he's like, never apologize, only look forward. And I was like, man, this is just... Frank is ripe for the picking. He's like, I am not the man that I thought I would be. And If they've ever set up a character who is the perfect target for a dude like Christian, part of me was like, what is happening here? And then I'm like, oh man, I don't like it. I do not like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird. We have an app. It's called Hard with two Ds. And I'm like, gross. Gross, gross. Yeah, I'm like, what is going to happen here? And this is so funny because obviously you have said before Frank Jr. was dead in the book, so who knows what's going to happen here, right?
Who knows? I have no guesses.
Who knows? Let's talk about Frank Jr. getting the snip snip without telling his
What a
wife.
dick.
For years, do you think she's been like, let's have another baby, let's have another baby? And he's like, okay.
Like, what's the motivation there? Why do you go get a secret vasectomy? Because you're too, like, you know your wife wants another child, and for whatever reason you don't, and you're too chicken to be like, I don't want any more children, I'm going to get a vasectomy. What prompts someone to get a secret vasectomy?
I don't know. I don't know. So crazy. And
Also, why was Amanda barfing?
she was upset because Sergio sent the thumbs up to her voice memo or whatever.
So that made her sick? I mean, she was that upset?
I don't know.
I
don't know. Maybe they just needed it as a vehicle for like people to.
Maybe she's pregnant. Couldn't be. Frank Jr. got a vasectomy.
Exactly.
Two final revelations. May fesses up to Jay via voice message.
Yes.
She's not the woman he thinks she is, which I appreciate that. And Amanda says, I do not know if I can do this, but where does she go? I assume she's at May's. She's not at Sergio's.
No way. I think she's at May's as well. And which I'm going to like a lot better because if these two sisters can get their shit together and like get on the same page.
Yes.
I think it's better viewing experience too. Because I don't want to watch them fight all the time.
Yeah, there's so many other people to be bothered with. Let's get the two of them working on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to talk clockworthy moments?
Sure.
My first one is May yelling at the women at the drop. Some great lines. Are your lives so dull? When she's asking them, like, are you ever going to get sick of talking about my sister or my mother? She says, I lied to my fiance. And then her parting shot, looking at Nancy, I wonder where I learned that it was shameful to be a Mimi's girl. Woof.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That whole scene was the best I've seen in this series, I think. Yeah.
And then how they devolved into fighting with each other is amazing.
Yes, I agree. I agree there were some great lines. There was after the party, after everybody leaves, right? And Shauna comes back and she's like, I think it was May and Sabrina who were there. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, you two need to go. Was it Sabrina who was there? I can't remember.
Yeah, May and Sabrina are still there because they had just had their like kind of reckoning where May explains to Sabrina why she stole that job and Sabrina explains why she needs it. And then they come together over the photo of her ex-husband's new wife. Fiance.
That's right. Got it. So Shauna's like, I need some chocolate wine. And then May's like, haven't you had enough? She goes, girl, would she say something like, I don't drink and sell business. What kind of businesswoman do you think I am or something like that? And May's like, you're an icon.
Yes. The exact line is, you think I run my business drunk? It's called marketing, sweetie. Look it up. I loved it. And then the you're an icon whispered is great.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. Really, really, really good. I'm going to tell you, I actually gasped out loud when they said Frank Jr. had a vasectomy.
Ooh.
I didn't see that coming at all.
No, neither did I. I loved the moment where Gus tells Patrick to not talk about her daughter that way. And then the follow-up scene, he apologizes and he's like, it's clear you love them, but maybe you should let them see it too.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, that was good.
Really great lines. We're back to episode 1. It's been a minute since we've had some of these one-liners that made me LOL. When Shauna says, May, why is this food on a rock? When May has her marble charcuterie board. And then she says, all that fabric and not a single owl or palm frond. I mean, anybody who's been victimized by the leggings MLM And finally, May, when Amanda walks into the drop and she looks at her and she's
Yes.
like, "Are you planning to pledge 80 pie this rush?" So good.
It was so good. It was so good. Yeah, I think the writer really did well with this one.
Yeah.
This episode.
I also loved the music montage when the ladies are entering the drop as if they're entering a club. So well done. But some of the filming choices, that one, and then the one where they pull back at all the ladies fighting with each other at the end of the drop, really, really well shot.
Okay, now talking about it, I do think this episode was a lot better
Oh, good.
than previous episodes. It was funny. There were a lot of
yeah.
funny parts to it among amidst all the fighting. Do you have a feathered friend of the week?
I'm torn, but I'm going to go with the lighthearted choice of Shauna because she made this episode so funny to watch.
I agree with you. I picked May for the week. I thought it was a nice turnaround for May. Last week I was like, I don't like anybody in this show. So I'm glad that one of our leads is kind of making me like her a little bit.
I agree. I was torn between May and Shauna. Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark. For more Chicken Sisters reviews coming up over the next 4 weeks, we do have an episode come back tomorrow for The Real West and Friday for the final Jane Mysteries installment. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.